And hello, everybody. We are the SpiffyNeedleGeeks. Like we promised last week, we are back for our discussion regarding the Steven Universe bomb. This time, it's only going to be myself as well as Danny and our guest Kenshi.
Hello.
At least for right now. What we're doing, I guess, if any of you are interested, we are recording our reactions every night after this episode, and then we're just compiling it all together in videos. So, I think it's safe to say...
This will be one big video for you guys, but this will be 5 separate occasions for us.
But not only that, suffice it to say, the three of us guaranteed will be here. Don't be so shocked if maybe, Brandon or Ryan end up popping in randomly for, one part. Just so you guys don't get confused. But, anyway, so, cry for help!
Yes, the title. That's the title of Monday night's episode.
Not what we were expecting.
It's hard to be as enthusiastic as I wanted to be for this episode, because this episode started off really cool, fucked me up at the end.
Yeah,
it starts off really awesomely, and then I understand why Cartoon Network asked Rebecca not to hurt us, because she proceeded to hurt us this episode.
Well, you're talking about a woman who thinks it's fun to cry. I'm not joking. She's actually said that. She's openly said that it's just that she thinks it's fun to cry.
Anywho,
that was the crying breakfast friends.
Yeah, which I guess, hey, speaking of which, that's actually how this episode starts. We get to see more of Steven's favorite TV show, The Crying Breakfast Friends, which I know we've had some glimpses here and there. He's got the stickers that he was posting, in the episode that actually introduced Peridot. He tried to have Amethyst take a personality test over, which crying breakfast friend are you? But she didn't want to go through with it because she didn't like thinking of herself, and that was when she got her current design. So it's like, hey, we actually got to see more of the actual show that he likes and just confuses the fuck out of the gems.
Well, it's still shown rather passively, but it does lead to where this episode's going.
Yeah.
While Steven and Amethyst are watching the show, the signal is cut off by a signal that's being broadcasted everywhere on every single channel that can be found by Peridot. Peridot is trying, since we can assume that Peridot has completed whatever it is that she wanted to do in the kindergarten regarding the cluster. Now she's trying to find a way home.
Yeah, she's basically calling for an extraction, and she specifically name drops Yellow Diamond. I think this marks the second time that she's been mentioned.
Indeed.
Yes. So she's getting desperate. It's confirmed she is stranded on Earth, and she needs a way off.
Yeah. Yeah, because she lost Jasper and Lapis. So
Straight
it's
up.
it's like she's kind of getting pushed into a corner now. So, don't be so I guess I won't be so surprised if, later on in this bomb, or hell, perhaps even in a future episode down the road, if Peridot ends up doing something really drastic and desperate.
Yeah. So obviously, Amethyst and Steven get Pearl and Garnet. They try to figure out how Peridot's doing this, and Garnet does get the idea. She is right. They figure she's communicating through the I think it was called the communication hub, which is a tower we only saw in passing way back when we were first introduced to Sugalite.
Yeah, this was the tower that Sugalite was trying to destroy.
Yeah, but apparently she didn't break it enough, because Peridot managed to repair it enough to be able to use it.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, the thing was huge the first time.
But even so, it's I do have to admit, I really like that callback, how it's it wasn't just random location in order to introduce this, fusion that was voiced by Nicki Minaj. It's I really like that they actually brought this back and made it a legitimate point, too.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, obviously, Steven, since they're back here, this reminds Steven of Sugalite, and he gets the idea, hey, Amethyst, Garnet, why don't you fuse again to form Sugalite? And
yeah, that didn't exactly work out very well last time.
Yeah, Amethyst, is a little reluctant. She's all for it. But Garnet, it's like after last time, she's against it and decides, okay, you know what, we still need enough power to be able to destroy this thing. So instead of fusing with Amethyst, why don't I fuse with Pearl?
Yes, and it's like, and I remembered specifically, Garnet said, I guess, like, in a twist from what she said, with Sugalite. Because if you remember, when Sugalite was, being introduced, and Pearl said that, look, you two are going to be very unstable, so fuse with me and everything, and Garnet mentioned, she's like, we don't need to be careful, we just need to be huge. This time around, Garnet turns to Pearl and says, we need to be careful. So it was like, again, it was like a nice little callback to that episode. There was a lot of nice callbacks to that episode, there was just a lot of them.
In which case, so of course, this does lead to the final evolution among the 3 gems that we've yet to see, and it's introduced as Sardonyx.
Oh Lord, Sardonyx.
This caught me off guard because, like, when I think of Garnet and Pearl fusing together, she was the last thing I kind of expected to see. Honestly.
Like sassy stage magician,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Yeah, it's like, hey, ladies and gentlemen, can I have a volunteer from the audience? It's like, oh my god, really?
She even does that typical Japanese like anime lady laugh, where, like, she does the with like her her hand covering her mouth.
Yeah.
Oh my god, it was like she definitely. I mean, it's like I can see, like, Even though she, like I said, she does look very much like what you would think of like as like a traditional like stage magician and everything. Like she wears like like some kind of like a tuxedo type outfit and everything. But it's still
a bow tie. She's a little bow tie.
Yeah, and a little bow tie. But I mean, it's still very clean. It's still very proper looking. So it's like, okay, that's definitely Pearl's influence. But it's like, the sassy attitude and everything. It's like I can see a lot more Garnet coming out than Pearl.
The eyes do kind of fuck me up behind the glasses. Like it's a very cartoony look with the especially if you look at her face. Like there's nothing. I really like the design. This is by far probably one of my more favorite infusions that we've seen yet. But the eyes do kind of fuck me up because, like, if you look at the eye design behind the glasses, like the eyes kind of like poke past where what the borders of her face. So
yeah, a little bit.
But I still really like this design. She even
say this.
She even does this quirky little thing where, like, her because Sardonyx, she has 2 sets of arms again, just like Sugalite, just like Opal. But the bottom set of arms can like rotate around her, like it can like rotate like a toy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she even has like a rotation action on like the part that would be Pearl's sash. But the one thing about Sardonyx that threw me off, because everything else seemed relatively what I kind of expected. I mean, she was a little more showy than I expected out of the 2 of them. But the thing that threw me off was her voice. Like, that was the last thing I expected out of those 2.
I like the voice. Like
I like the voice. I just
overall loved the sass. It was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like, and even the puns. Like, her puns were great.
Yeah, and I guess a quick mention as far as the fusion dance is concerned, because I know we mentioned last time that usually with these fusions, it's a combination of the different dance styles and stuff, and with Sugalite, especially knowing the fact that Sugalite was voiced by Nicki Minaj, when you look at Garnet and Amethyst's fusion dance, I mean, it definitely gave off, like, that's like, okay, yeah, this is definitely influenced by Nicki Minaj, kind of sexy, but very dirty and stuff. You don't get that impression with Garnet and Pearl. I mean, not gonna lie, there is some sense of sexiness to it, but it's a lot more restrained.
It's a lot more sensual than directly sexual.
I suppose,
with the way that they move.
I guess that's probably a better way of saying it. I mean, it's not sexually explicit by any means, because I know there's some people, when they think the word sexy, then they get the complete wrong impression. And I mean, it's like, no, they're not being sexually explicit whatsoever in these dances or anything. But I mean, I guess maybe sensual is a better word for it. I don't know.
I feel that way with how they move across each other's body, whereas Amethyst and Garnet are very...
And even then, it's very subtle.
Yeah, that's why I say sensual, because they move very slowly and subtly, more taking the other's appearance in rather than just grinding on each other for the sake of, oh my god, yes, grind.
Yeah.
The one thing that actually kind of irked me is that, thinking on this, we have still yet to see the proper version of Opal's fusion dance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure in time.
In which case, so I guess back to Sardonyx.
Yeah, it's like I know there's one thing I know BJ really wants to talk about, and that's her choice of weapon.
A big fucking hammer.
Yeah, it's like, if you guys, for whatever reason, don't know BJ, he has a serious hard-on for hammers. I mean, give somebody a hammer, they're instantly his favorite character. I am not kidding.
You could hammer it and it still would be hard.
I am not kidding. When we were watching this, like, on TV and everything, like, a bunch of us were in Skype call, like, in the Skype chats, and we're chatting and typing away as we're watching the episode, and it was like, me and, another friend of ours, Devin, as soon as we saw Sardonyx pull out the hammer, the both of us, at the same time, literally typed, well, BJ just orgasmed.
It was hilarious because I didn't know what they were talking about. I lived several hours ahead of them.
Several hours behind.
Either way. In any which case, so yeah, Sardonyx did she didn't destroy the tower, but she disabled the functionality for it to be able to communicate any longer.
Right.
But
yeah, hence being more careful.
Yeah, but when they unfused, like for one thing, we also kind of failed to mention at this point, Amethyst didn't really take too lightly to Garnet choosing to fuse with Pearl as opposed to her. She was kind of looking a little disgruntled at it, and it was even worse when when Sardonyx unfused, because Garnet and Pearl were like in really good moods after that. They felt great after fusing. Steven was overjoyed because this is the first time he met Sardonyx. Amethyst was pretty depressed about it.
Yeah. Yeah, and when you combine that with the fact that Amethyst has self-esteem issues, it's like,
self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah,
self-esteem issues that could fill Sugilite.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, she understood. I mean, it was very clear that she understood why Garnet chose to fuse with Pearl, but it still, it still didn't make her feel very good.
Yeah, like, it was like, she understood, but I think she felt worse because she understood.
Yeah.
So it's like, but it's like, yeah. So,
because I mean, when Garnet went to Amethyst to form Sugilite, back in season 1, Pearl was just like, she was a little bit more like, annoyed because she knew about how destructive Sugilite could be.
But Amethyst was like freaking out. She was so excited that she was going to get the fuse with Garnet.
Yeah.
But that having been said, so obviously that was that mission. So the next day, they're back. Steven's back to watching, Crying Breakfast Friends, but this time he's watching it with Garnet. But suddenly the signal starts appearing again in the tower. Like it's interfering with the TV signal again. So they have to go back. They're forced to, Garnet and Pearl ought to go ahead and go straight back to Sardonyx, and the process repeated.
Yeah, and mind you, remember back in season 1, Peridot, she's got these little robots that can actually, repair things. Like, they were always destroying, warp portals and everything, and Peridot just kept repairing them.
Yeah.
So that's where I was like, it's back. That's no surprise.
Yeah, so it's like, but then we do finally get another little musical number, while a bit short, but from Amethyst. But it's another depressing song where she's kind of singing. What was the song exactly about? Like,
it was just Amethyst just singing about how that she couldn't be with Garnet, that she wanted to help but she can't. It's like you said, it was a very short little number. I think maybe like a minute long. But I mean, it was enough that, this was her expressing her feelings. And it was like you said, her self-esteem issues were coming out in full force.
Yes, and Steven does take notice to this. So afterwards, when they all leave, Steven decides that he and Amethyst should go back along with Lion. Because Lion's actually the only way they can get there. Because when the first time they were there, Sugilite accidentally destroyed the warp panel that they used to get there. So they've been needing to use Lion to I totally forgot to mention, this was actually brought up in one of the comics. We totally forgot to talk about Lion in the last discussion.
Even though there's not much to really talk about Lion other than, he's roaming hammer space. And somehow connected to Rose. Yeah, that's all we know about Lion.
Yeah,
he does like lion lickers.
Yeah, so regardless of that. So, yeah, Steven, Amethyst, and Lion, they head back there, because Steven gets the idea, okay, Peridot's been coming back here to keep repairing the tower, let's just wait here and ambush her. So, yeah,
which is actually a really freaking good idea.
Yeah, so that's exactly what the three of them did. They just kind of waited there, and then after a while, sure enough, Peridot, a pod appears and starts repairing the tower. Except, interestingly enough, it was Peridot's escape pod, which, as far as they were aware, was already in their custody. How did Peridot have it?
Yeah, this was all the way back, I think, in the beginning of season 2.
Yep.
Yeah, with the cool kids and everything that we brought up in the last video.
Yes, so it's repairing the tower, and it reaches the top, and then a figure steps out. Steven, looking through his binoculars, he's expecting to see Peridot, but no, instead he sees Pearl.
Yep.
And that's when everyone's jaws dropped. They knew exactly, from that point, we all knew exactly where this was going.
The last 3 minutes of this episode, it was like we were saying, from the beginning up until this point, it was really cool. It was like, all right, we got some familiar elements into this. We got to see a new fusion. I mean, we were on such a fucking high, and then the last 3 minutes, it just fucking crashes down on us.
Oh, like the freaking bombs.
I was speechless. Just like, fuck. So, of course, they let Pearl finish repairing the tower, and they head back. So sure enough, they notice, another distress signal is going. Another distress signal is screwing up with the TV, and Pearl's immediately like, "Okay, Garnet, let's get going." And they head back there, and they're about to repeat the process, but Amethyst and Steven do stop Garnet before she confused with Pearl, and they tell her, "Pearl, tell the truth."
Oh,
and
Lord!
Garnet didn't take it very well.
Oh Lord! Did Garnet flip?
Yeah. And also,
Garnet flipped so hard, she straight up just became Sugalite with Amethyst again, and one-shot punched the tower so hard that there is no way she could fix it after that.
Yeah, Garnet did not take that lightly. Like, Pearl's reasoning was like, "Oh, I had such a great time fusing with you. It felt so great. I wanted an excuse to keep fusing with you, so I kept." Like, that was effectively her reasoning. Like, she kept repairing the tower so she could have a reason to keep reforming Sardonyx.
Yeah.
And we know how Garnet feels about fusion. So the way I see it, the idea that Pearl, that Pearl was straight up deceitful to Garnet. In order to achieve this fusion, Garnet was just was so upset.
But also, Garnet, I know, like, throughout the episode, after they kept breaking the tower and everything, Garnet was bringing up the future vision, that she couldn't see Peridot. So that was like, that I guess you could say that was the mystery and everything, is like, okay, wait a minute, why can't Garnet not see this? So when, it was revealed that this was Pearl the whole time, that was when everything clicked for Garnet.
Well, it was Pearl the second and third time. The first time it was Peridot.
Yeah, it was Peridot
obviously
the first
Peridot
time, but
had
after that it was Pearl, and that was why Garnet couldn't see Peridot.
Indeed, which is, the confusing part for her, because it's like, if Peridot keeps coming back, they should be able to catch her at some point.
Yeah, so in which case, for the most part, Amethyst did try to defend Pearl, because she brought up how, fusing with Garnet makes them feel so much more powerful, because Garnet is more powerful than them. Garnet still didn't take it, and yeah, like Danny said, Garnet pretty much made Amethyst fuse with her to reform Sugalite, just so they could just take down the tower and be done with it.
Right. Of course, now I guess, where Amethyst was saying how, fusing with Garnet was, how they feel strong, I guess, it's up to the viewer to really, interpret whether that, is that for, both her and Pearl, or is this just strictly how Amethyst feels? Maybe Pearl feels something different or something. We don't really know. I mean, Pearl had tried to explain herself, but Garnet was not having any of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It may not be for strength, but it's obvious that Pearl gets something out of it. I mean, just her reaction to knowing she got the fuse again was a tremendous emotional response. So there is something she is gaining out of a fusion that, like Amethyst, that she isn't getting from being alone.
But it's like, so effectively the episode ends. Steven and Amethyst are watching the crying breakfast friends again, and it brings up the idea: why can't because I see Pearl and Garnet walking past each other, but they don't say a word to each other. Like Garnet just gives her the cold shoulder, and they bring up the idea that if only real life was a cartoon, then it would always have a happy ending, and that's where the episode stops. It leaves off on this feud still going on.
Yeah. That's because that I think, if anything, was what really caught me off guard. I mean, it's like Pearl. Pearl kind of being antagonistic here, in the end of the episode caught me off guard. But it's especially because usually in the cartoons and, even in Steven Universe, if there's ever like a feud or an argument or a disagreement or something, it's usually resolved by the end of the episode. Not this time.
Yeah,
so this is like, I guess, going back to what we were saying in our previous video last week about how Steven Universe is really, really good at making continuing story arcs. So for all we know, this is probably going to be something that's going to last throughout the entire bomb. Like, I would not be surprised if, their tensions are going to be really high between Pearl and Garnet. And then maybe by Friday or something, it'll finally come full circle.
If at all.
I would not be surprised if that's the approach they're going to take.
Because one thing I will say regarding Pearl, like you brought up how she was antagonistic, and it's really hard for me to be able to defend her on that. Because up to this point, because I see Tumblr, I see Twitter, there are plenty of people, who try to rag on Pearl for for the mistakes she makes, calling her a terrible person. And I would always disagree, because for the most part, Pearl, she's obviously shown signs of some kinds of different kinds of anxieties and such, and people are mostly ragging on her, after she showed that Mean Girls appearance back in that episode with Greg and Rose, but that was 20 years ago, so
right.
That's more forgivable.
Yeah, it's like Pearl, I mean, it's like, I agree, what people were talking about, like Pearl's like quote-unquote questionable actions throughout the show, there's always been something that we can kind of use to defend it. It's like, yeah, her being antagonistic towards Greg back in the 80s, that was Pearl then, and, you look at Pearl now, and they're two completely different Pearls, because, events happened, things changed, and, it ultimately humbled her. So that's where it's like, yeah, she may have been a bitch back then, but you really couldn't argue that now because, again, things changed and she basically grew up.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I'm a little hard-pressed to really find the means to really defend this. This is like, okay, I can't, I agree with you, BJ. I don't think this is something that could easily be forgiven. I mean, Pearl's really gonna have to, work her ass off to get that respect and forgiveness back.
This was the first time where Pearl was straight up deceitful, and not just deceitful. Like, she was deceiving her friends. Like, she was deceiving Garnet just for the sake of her own personal gain. That's not some. Yeah, that's very bad. That was awful.
Especially given the situation being that this is a distress call from Peridot to Yellow Diamond. But I'm gonna have to play a bit of devil's advocate. While I cannot directly defend what Pearl did, given both Pearl and Amethyst's actions, it's very clear that there is at least some level to excuse it. There's something there. I feel like Pearl's actions are, I'd say, addiction related in a way, but I'm trying to find the right word. The way everything that she did when they first fused in Sardonyx suggested it's been so long that she's realizing how much of how important and how the words are really failing me, but there's something about being able to be victorious with Garnet that she doesn't get anymore. Like, she doesn't get what she gets from Sardonyx any other way. And I can understand why she'd want to feel that, even if it's just a few short times, because there's not a lot of opportunity for them to be Sardonyx. It's been made very clear that they only fuse when necessary, because only Garnet has fused for a reason outside of the necessary, and they don't get that normally. They're not. Amethyst and Pearl aren't close enough to permanently be Opal like Ruby and Sapphire are Garnet, so getting to be with Garnet, especially since she's acting as basically the de facto Rose, to the point to where everyone turns to her almost instantly if anything happens. Proves that, like, I imagine she's kind of moved on to Garnet the way she held on to Rose, and being able to fuse with Garnet is just such a big deal because it's one of the few things that makes her feel like she did with Rose.
Yeah, and I understand that, like, that mindset, that motive for Pearl, but even then, like, this kind of action that, effectively jeopardizing the mission with Peridot, using Garnet for that, like, even Garnet, like, how she responded, like, Garnet, Pearl tried defending herself, saying, I just wanted to feel these yeah, like you said, Kenshi, I wanted to keep feeling these kind of victories with you, and Garnet's response was, those weren't victories.
Yeah, obviously, as I'm saying, I'm not defending Pearl, but I can at least understand.
Yeah, I
and
getcha.
it's sort of excused because I imagine if Amethyst wasn't designed to be counter dependent, she probably would have gone to similar lengths to be Sugilite, because she mentioned she wanted to prove to Garnet that if they became Sugilite again, it wouldn't be the same way that it was last time. So there's definitely a big pressure from both Pearl and Amethyst to impress Garnet, much like I imagine they enjoyed getting Rose's attention.
Well, I guess for now, like don't get us wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Like, we, by all means, we don't hate Pearl because of this. We don't think she's a bad person. She's, she did something deceitful. We all have. That happens.
Yeah.
But just because she, we're not gonna hate her for this. We still like her. But at the same time, this is one of those mistakes that we just can't excuse.
Yeah, it's like I said, we need to see Pearl, working towards, work towards getting forgiveness, work towards, like, rebuilding that sense of trust and respect and everything. And it's like, and I have no doubt that Rebecca Sugar knows what she's doing and that we will be seeing this. And it's like I said, we might be seeing this gradually throughout the rest of the bomb. We don't know.
Yeah.
I actually think we definitely will be seeing more of this through the bomb, particularly because if we're taking the Breakfast Friends thing seriously, it sort of alludes to that this will eventually be something that Garnet forgives, because the episode that the Crying Breakfast Friends actually shows alludes to something kind of similar going on with them, and Steven makes it clear he would forgive whoever it was that was doing the lying for it, because he understands sometimes things happen. And I can imagine we're going to get an episode that kind of shows why Garnet was so upset with Pearl, and hopefully we'll both at least understand why she was upset, but show that, whatever she was upset over isn't worth what she's going to be dealing with out both from herself and Pearl as a result of this.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess for the most part, that does cover the episode in and of itself, so...
Yeah, so she's like, Steven Bomb 3, or I guess as,
started off with all of us crying.
Yeah, I guess as the creators are calling this, they're actually calling this the Week of Sardonyx, fucking ironic, am I right?
Oh,
so
jeez.
It's like, goddamn, we're already off to one hell of a start. I mean, I know we said that the Steven Bombs, these are usually 5 episodes back-to-back that, tend to be very drama-heavy. They bring about the most importance and everything. So it's like episodes that usually bring about the feels are involved in bombs. But holy shit.
They just start off strong.
Oh, yeah. I'm expecting, if this is the Week of Sardonyx, I think the proper title is the Week of Pearlnet Ship Problems. Because we're going to see a lot of Pearl and Garnet having a whole lot of problems for this episode. Because I don't expect to see Sardonyx at all the rest of this.
Yeah.
We'll have to wait and see.
Yep, so...
It was interesting to see Sugilite at the very end.
Yeah, no Nicki Minaj, though.
Yeah, no Nicki Minaj rapping, though. That made me sad.
Maybe later down the week. Maybe Nicki did a rap later down the week when they have to be Sugilite to fight Malachite.
Or something. But, Yep, so I guess this concludes Cry for Help. So next episode is Keystone Motel.
That's going to be interesting, because the last time we heard about... time we heard about the Keystone, it wasn't... No, that's the Wailing Stone.
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see. See y'all later.